They humiliated the new kid with a stutter, had no idea about his secret training in Thailand. The August heat hit Ethan Parker like a wall as he stepped off the bus at Lakeside High in Missoula. Sweat already beaded on his forehead as he clutched his schedule, scanning the unfamiliar buildings. His stomach churned with anxiety, not just first-day jitters but the dread of having to speak. Every new school meant the same routine: introducing himself, stumbling over his own name, watching classmates exchange glances. Ethan P. Parker, he practiced under his breath. His stutter had been his constant companion since childhood, worse when nervous, and today he was terrified. At 16, Ethan was painfully thin. Skeleton had been his nickname at his last school. His sandy brown hair fell across his forehead in a failed attempt to look casual, and his second-hand clothes hung loosely on his lanky frame. His father's military career had them moving constantly, and Montana was just the latest stop in a string of temporary homes. Each move reset the social clock, forcing Ethan to navigate the treacherous waters of teenage hierarchies all over again. What nobody at Lakeside knew, what nobody could possibly guess from looking at his wiry frame and hesitant posture, was that behind Ethan's stuttering voice and awkward demeanor lay years of intensive Muay Thai training. His uncle James, his mother's brother, had taken him to Thailand for 3 consecutive summers after Ethan was severely bullied in 7th grade. Uncle James, a former military man who'd fallen in love with Thai culture during his service, had connections at a training camp outside Bangkok. There, Ethan had learned to channel his frustration and fear into disciplined strength. The martial art had given him not just physical skill, but mental fortitude. In the training camp, nobody cared about his stutter. They cared about his form, his dedication, his heart. For 3 summers, Ethan had risen at dawn to run, trained until his muscles screamed, and fell into exhausted sleep each night. He'd become proficient enough to compete in junior tournaments by his 3rd summer. But back in American high schools, Ethan kept this part of himself hidden, preferring to blend into the background. Today, he just wanted to get through his first day without drawing attention. A quiet year, good grades, then maybe college somewhere he could start fresh. That was the plan. "Hey, new kid," the voice cut through Ethan's thoughts as he navigated the crowded hallway toward his assigned locker. 3 boys approached, moving with the easy confidence of those who owned their territory. The tallest wore a Lakeside wrestling team jacket despite the heat, his dark hair cut in a sharp fade. The muscular boy beside him had his Letterman jacket sleeves rolled up to display impressive biceps, while the third, slightly shorter but with a calculating gaze, hung back slightly. "I'm B. Blake," Ethan managed, the familiar hot flush of embarrassment rising as his tongue tripped over the consonant. He'd learned long ago that giving a fake name avoided the embarrassment of stuttering through Ethan. "B. Blake," mimicked the tall one, drawing snickers from his companions. "I'm Darnell. This is Tyler." He nodded to the muscular one. "And that's Leo." The calculating one gave a small nod. "You lost?" "Jay, just looking for locker 237, Ethan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Down that hall," Darnell said, pointing. As Ethan nodded thanks and turned to leave, he felt a foot extend into his path. Despite his trained reflexes, he allowed himself to trip, scattering his schedule and orientation materials across the floor. "Strategic invisibility," he reminded himself. "Don't show what you can do." Laughter erupted as he knelt to gather his papers. "Watch your step, B. Blake," Tyler called as the trio sauntered away. By lunchtime, Ethan had catalogued the social landscape. Darnell Wheeler was the wrestling team captain, undefeated in his weight class for 2 years running. Tyler Ramirez was a linebacker on the football team, with a reputation for brutal tackles. Leo Finch seemed to be the brains of their operation, less physically imposing, but rumored to have connections to sell prescription meds and weed. They formed the apex of Lakeside's social hierarchy. In the cafeteria, Ethan found an empty corner table and unpacked his lunch. He'd just taken a bite of his sandwich when a voice spoke beside him. "Mind if I sit here?" A girl with curly black hair and glasses stood holding her tray. "Sure," Ethan replied, moving his backpack. "I'm Maya Rodriguez. You're new, right?" Her smile seemed genuine. "Ethan," he said, deciding to use his real name this time. "Cool. Don't mind those idiots from this morning," she said, nodding toward where Darnell and his friends held court at a central table. "They're only tough in packs." As they ate, Maya filled him in on Lakeside's dynamics. She was in the drama club and had a knack for observation. The teachers are mostly decent except Carson, chemistry, who clearly hates teenagers. Principal Whitaker talks big about anti-bullying but never actually does anything. And those guys, she gestured subtly toward Darnell's table, they run what they call initiation for new kids, especially boys. Just, she hesitated, be careful, okay? The warning proved prophetic. Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan became their favorite target. It started small, shoulder checks in the hallway, knocking books from his hands, mocking imitations of his stutter that grew more elaborate and drew bigger laughs. Hey, Ethan, Darnell would call loudly whenever he spotted him. Tell us about your day. In PE class, dodgeball became a targeted assault, with Tyler deliberately aiming for Ethan's face. When he dodged the ball with unexpected agility, a reflex from his training, Leo narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Got some moves there, Stutter boy, he commented later in the locker room. Not as pathetic as you look. Just lucky, Ethan mumbled, quickly pulling his shirt on. He was careful not to change when others could see the lean muscle his baggy clothes concealed. 3 years of Muay Thai had transformed his physique, but revealing that would invite questions or challenges he preferred to avoid. 3 weeks into the semester, they escalated. Ethan opened his locker to find his history textbook soaked in what smelled like urine. The next day, his gym clothes disappeared during class, forcing him to wear his sweaty workout clothes for the rest of the day. Someone, he suspected Leo, started a group chat called Ethan's DD Daily DD Disaster, where they posted unflattering photos and videos of him dropping things or struggling to answer questions in class. Maya remained his only ally, her friendship unwavering despite the social cost. They're just insecure jerks, she insisted during lunch. Darnell's dad is some ex-military hardass who pushes him like crazy. Tyler's failing 3 classes and needs his football scholarship. Leo's just a sociopath in training. I just want to be left alone, Ethan replied, picking at his food. The constant harassment was wearing him down despite his attempts to remain detached. His nightly training sessions in his bedroom, shadow boxing, push-ups, core work, were his only outlet. The toy situation reached a new level when Ethan found crude drawings of himself plastered across the boys' bathroom, depicting him with an exaggerated stutter bubble and tears streaming down his face. As he tore them down, the bathroom door opened. Darnell, Tyler, and Leo entered, effectively blocking the exit. "Oh, don't like your portrait, Ethan," Darnell smirked. "Leo's quite the artist." Please," Ethan said, hating the pleading note in his voice but maintaining his cover. "Just leave me alone." "Or what?" Tyler stepped closer, using his bulk to intimidate. "You'll cry to the teachers? Go ahead, see if they care." He was right. Mr. Delaney, the vice principal, had witnessed Tyler tripping Ethan in the cafeteria last week and had simply walked by. The school's anti-bullying policy existed only on posters. "I think Stutterboy needs to pay the new kid tax," Leo suggested, his voice casual but his eyes sharp. $50 should cover it." "I don't have that much," Ethan replied truthfully, his father's military salary stretched thin. "Then I guess we take payment another way," Darnell said, grabbing Ethan's backpack and upending it into the nearest sink, which was unfortunately filled with dingy water from a clogged drain. Ethan felt a surge of anger, his hands automatically forming fists. He caught himself, forcing his fingers to relax. "Not yet, not over this." "That's just the first installment," Leo informed him as they left. "We'll be collecting again soon." The harassment continued, becoming more targeted and creative. They created a fake social media profile in his name, filling it with embarrassing posts. They stole his clothes during swim class, forcing him to walk back to the locker room in his wet trunks. They started Stutterer bingo, marking off squares whenever they could make him stammer over specific words. Through it all, Ethan maintained his facade of helplessness. At night, he punched his pillow until his knuckles ached, channeling his frustration into his private training. His father noticed his quietness, but attributed it to the adjustment of another new school. "Tough it out, son," was his standard advice. Life isn't fair. 2 months into the semester, on a rainy October afternoon, Ethan stayed late in the library finishing a research paper. By the time he headed to his locker, the hallways were nearly empty. As he turned the corner, he saw Darnell and his friends surrounding Maya near the water fountain. "Just saying you could do better than hanging with Stutterboy," Darnell was saying, his arm propped against the wall over her head. "And you think better is you?" Maya retorted, trying to step around him. "That's hilarious." Tyler moved to block her path. "Don't be like that. We're just trying to help your social standing." "I don't need your kind of help," she said firmly. "Now move." Leo, leaning against the lockers, spotted Ethan first. "Well, look who's here. Your boyfriend's come to rescue you." They all turned. Darnell smiled slowly. Perfect timing. We were just explaining to your girlfriend here how the social order works at Lakeside. She's not my girlfriend, Ethan said, stepping forward. And she asked you to move. Or what, Stutter boy? Tyler challenged, taking a step toward him. You gonna make us? Ethan felt something shift inside him. The familiar calculation, stay hidden, stay safe, wavered. Maya had been his only friend, had stood by him despite everything. Now they were intimidating her because of him. Jay, just leave her alone, he said, his voice firmer. Ethan, it's fine, Maya said quickly. I can handle this. Yeah, Ethan, mocked Darnell. Let the girl handle it. Unless you want another swimming lesson? The reference to last week's humiliation, when they'd pushed him fully clothed into the pool during a vacant period, made something snap. Ethan took another step forward. Last warning, he said, his stutter momentarily vanishing as clarity washed over him. Back off. The three exchanged glances, then burst into laughter. Did you hear that? Leo exclaimed. The skeleton just threatened us. This ought to be good, Tyler said, cracking his knuckles. Ethan, don't, Maya pleaded. They're not worth it. But Ethan had made his decision. The facade he'd maintained, the helpless, stuttering new kid, had served its purpose. Now it was time to show them who he really was. Darnell moved first, shoving Ethan hard against the lockers. You need to learn your place, Stutter boy. The metal rattled against Ethan's back, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he straightened up, squaring his shoulders. For the first time, he allowed his posture to reflect his training. Balanced, centered, prepared. I've been trying to avoid this, Ethan said clearly, the stutter gone completely now that he'd made his choice. But you guys really don't know when to stop. Something in his tone made Darnell hesitate, but Tyler was already charging forward, aiming a wild punch at Ethan's face. With a fluid motion honed through countless training sessions, Ethan sidestepped, letting Tyler's momentum carry him forward as he stuck out a foot. The bigger boy went sprawling, face first onto the linoleum. What the fuck? Leo exclaimed, backing up a step. Tyler scrambled to his feet, his face red with embarrassment and rage. Lucky move, skeleton, try this. He lunged again, this time more controlled. Ethan blocked the punch with his forearm. The impact stung, but he'd taken worse in training, and countered with a swift elbow strike to Tyler's sternum. The football player doubled over, gasping. Ethan? Maya's voice was shocked. Darnell approached more cautiously now, circling. Guess you've been hiding some skills, Stutter boy, but I'm not some untrained idiot. His wrestling background showed in his stance, balanced and ready. I know, Ethan replied, shifting his own position. You're good on the mat, but this isn't wrestling. Darnell feinted left, then shot in for a takedown. Ethan had anticipated this, it was a wrestler's instinct, and used the momentum to execute a perfect Muay Thai sweep, sending Darnell tumbling. Before the wrestler could recover, Ethan had him in a controlled wristlock. 3 years training in Thailand, he said quietly, as Darnell winced in pain. I never wanted to use it here. All I wanted was to be left alone. Bullshit. Darnell grunted, trying to break free. The hold only tightened. Leo had backed against the wall, all his bravado evaporated. Tyler was still trying to catch his breath. Ethan, stop, Maya said, touching his shoulder gently. They're not worth it. The touch broke through Ethan's focus. He released Darnell's wrist and stepped back. She's right, but this ends now. You leave us both alone, or next time I won't stop. Darnell scrambled to his feet, rage and humiliation coloring his face. This isn't over, he spat. Yes, it is, came a new voice. They all turned to see Mrs. Calloway, the English teacher, standing at the end of the hall. My classroom camera caught that whole exchange, she said, holding up her phone. And I've been documenting your behavior toward Ethan for weeks. The color drained from the three boys' faces. But he, Tyler began, was defending himself and Ms. Rodriguez after months of harassment that our administration has shamefully ignored, Mrs. Calloway finished firmly. Principal Whitaker will see this footage tomorrow morning. Until then, I suggest you all go home and think carefully about the choices you've made. As the three bullies slunk away, Maya turned to Ethan with wide eyes. Thailand, 3 years, were you ever going to mention this? It never came up, Ethan replied, his stutter returning now that the adrenaline was fading. It's not something I talk about. Your stutter, Mrs. Calloway said thoughtfully. It comes and goes with your confidence level, doesn't it? Ethan nodded. We're worse when I'm nervous, gone when I'm focused. That's why you never fought back before, Maya realized. You were hiding your training. I didn't want trouble, Ethan explained as they walked toward the exit. My dad's stationed here for a year, maybe 2. I just wanted to get through it. Well, that plan's shot, Maya said with a small smile. By tomorrow, everyone will know what happened. She was right. By lunch the next day, the story had spread throughout Lakeside High, enhanced with each retelling. In some versions, Ethan had knocked out all 3 boys. In others, he'd done flying kicks like a movie star. The truth, that he'd used controlled defensive techniques to neutralize without causing serious harm, was less dramatic but more impressive to those who understood fighting. The aftermath unfolded in unexpected ways. Principal Whitaker, faced with Mrs. Calloway's evidence and the threat of a formal complaint, had no choice but to suspend Darnell, Tyler, and Leo for 2 weeks. Their parents were furious, particularly Darnell's father, who raged about his son's wrestling record being tarnished, but the documentation was irrefutable. Ethan found himself suddenly visible in a way he'd never intended. Students who had ignored him now nodded in the hallways. A sophomore from the jiu-jitsu club asked if he would demonstrate some Muay Thai techniques. Even his stutter became less pronounced as his confidence grew. Most surprising was the change in Tyler, who approached Ethan alone 3 weeks after the incident. His usual bravado was gone, replaced by an awkward uncertainty. "Hey," he said, fidgeting with his backpack strap. "Can we talk?" Ethan tensed, ready for a sneak attack, but Tyler raised his hands. "Not like that. My dad saw the video." "The video?" "Someone recorded it on their phone. Mrs. Calloway wasn't the only one watching," Tyler explained. "My dad saw how you took me down. Clean, controlled. You could have really hurt me, but you didn't." Ethan waited, unsure where this was going. "He said that's the difference between a fighter and a bully," Tyler continued, his eyes on the floor. "A fighter knows when to stop." He took a deep breath. "Anyway, I'm sorry for everything. That's all." Before Ethan could respond, Tyler walked away, leaving him staring in surprise. Leo avoided him entirely, changing direction whenever they crossed paths. Darnell maintained a cold hostility, but kept his distance. The initiations of new students stopped completely. One afternoon in late November, Ethan was practicing kicks in the empty gym when Maya found him. "So this is where you disappear." "Two after school," she said, dropping her backpack against the wall. "I thought you might be avoiding me." "No," Ethan replied, grabbing a towel to wipe his face. "Just staying sharp." "Your speech is better," she observed. "Even when you do stutter, it's less." He nodded. "My therapist says confidence helps. I stopped trying to hide who I am." "I like who you are," Maya said simply. "Even before I knew you could take down 3 guys without breaking a sweat." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with his workout. "Want to learn some basics?" he offered. "Self-defense is good for everyone." By winter break, Ethan had started an unofficial self-defense club with Mrs. Calloway as faculty sponsor. A dozen students, mostly those who had been targeted by bullies in the past, came regularly to learn basic techniques. Tyler joined in January, tentative at first, but gradually becoming one of Ethan's most dedicated students. "You know what's weird?" Maya commented as they walked home one snowy afternoon. "You coming here might have actually made this school better." Ethan considered this. The hallways felt different now, not perfect, but improved. The culture of fear and intimidation had been cracked, if not broken entirely. Maybe, he agreed. "But it took everyone, you, Mrs. Calloway, even Tyler eventually. One person can't change a whole system. But one person can start the change," she countered, taking his hand. Her fingers felt warm against the winter chill. As they walked through the falling snow, Ethan realized something his uncle had told him during his first summer in Thailand, when he'd been bruised and discouraged and ready to quit. "True strength isn't about hurting others," Uncle James had said. "It's about knowing you can protect yourself and those you care about. The best fighters rarely need to fight." For the first time since arriving at Lakeside, Ethan felt he truly understood what that meant.